Welcome back to J&J Dynasty. All right, let's get the thumbnail off of here. I'm in a different room, so it might be a little bit echoey here today, but hopefully you can still hear me. So what I want to go through is the top 10 rookies from FanPros as far as they see it and how I see it. I'm going to break it down a little video, little show here. So we'll go from there. Dang, yeah. So let's get it going here. So the top 10 rookies, one quarterback, PPR. And this is how I would see them and where I would draft them. So let's go into it. We're going to start off with the secret weapon. Richardson, I would take him somewhere in the late first round, early second, because he has the most upside, and I think that he's going to wind up being the guy that everybody's going to want. So anywhere between pick, say 8 to 2-2, so 8 to 14 overall. I think that's where some Richardson's sweet spot is in fantasy drafts as it sits here early in May or mid-May actually here. So I think Richardson is my number one quarterback. If I'm going to draft one of these guys, especially high, he's going to be the guy I'm going to go after just because of the upside. Everybody knows the Konami code guys. He's that guy. It sounds like out of Indianapolis that they're going to try and push him to start sooner than later, if not right in the beginning of the year. I don't know if that's well advised, but hey, that's what they're going to do. They moved up to get him, or they didn't move up, I guess. They got him with that early pick, so might as well throw him in. See if he can sink or swim. See if you need to go after a new quarterback sooner than later, right? All right, so that's kind of CJ or Robinson. That's where he's at. He's my number one quarterback in this league, or in a one quarterback league for drafting. My next guy is gonna be the Bryce Young. The thing about Bryce is that I'm not a big fan of him. I'm not a big fan of his size. His landing spot doesn't make me all giddy. The thing that I have just a sneaky suspicion that he's going to be like little Puffy is what I call him, Kyler Murray. So I call Kyler Murray Little Puffy because he's just gotten real puffy since he got into the league, and now he's getting hurt. So got to demean him a little bit. But I think Bryce Young could be very similar, like right out of the gate. I think that he could put up some really good numbers, and people can be really high on him. If you do wind up drafting him, I would recommend trading him sooner than later, because the longevity is what I have the big concern with him as far as his size. So now if he comes out of the blocks and he blows up and guys want to offer you first round picks and things like that for him, definitely do it. So as far as him, as where I would take him, somewhere in the early first or early second, early second to late second. So anywhere, 2, 2, 2, 3, I'd be scared to go after him at that point. But 2, 4, 2, 5, anywhere into the second end of the second round, I would definitely be looking at pulling him off the board versus the wide receivers and the backup running backs, because he's going to give you by far the most bang for your buck, and you want to snatch him probably before somebody else does, because they're going to get the appreciation on the value for him. I mean, what I'm going to be looking at with somebody like him is if I do wind up getting any shares of him, like I said, I'm going to wait for him to blow it up real quick. I mean, because they're also talking that Dalton's going to start ahead of him, supposedly. But as soon as he starts firing off, well, people are going to give you a late first or a future first for him. Well, if you can get him at 2.6, 2.7, and then, before the trade deadline, trade him for a future first round pick, I mean, that's nice appreciation. So that's kind of the way I look at Bryce Young there. So the next guy on my list, no surprise, would be Stroud. Stroud I like a little bit better long term. I like that he's probably going to be the number one guy right from the start. So basically with what I'm seeing with him, I would pick him again somewhere in the middle to late second round. And I think that he's going to be a very good to almost elite type quarterback throughout his career. So, I mean, think of maybe Kirk Cousins, Derek Carr, Jared Goff, Matthew Stafford. I think that he's going to be more on that type of level of quarterback consistently. So picking him for a future pick or quarterback as a backup or maybe your starter, you're not going to really lose face on him, especially if you get him in the middle till late second round. Just for the simple fact that he's going to be able to start for you at least half of your games in a one quarterback league. So, he's definitely worth that type of draft capital. Like I said, he doesn't really excite me. And you got the Ohio State quarterback jinx that everybody talks about. So, C.J. Stroud, that's where he comes in for me. Just like a lot of everybody else, right? So this is what Fantasy Pros puts out. So my top three are a little bit different. All right. My next two are going to be the exact same and in the exact same order. So my top five obviously would be a little bit different. Mine would be Richardson, Young, Stroud, Levis, Hooker. Well, not really. Flipping one group. First and second overall. And so let's get into the next couple guys. So Will Levis, being picked by Tennessee, and Tannehill hasn't been able to stay really healthy the last couple of years. So I do foresee him starting a couple of games, maybe a couple of games right at the end of the year. So if you can get him late second or early third, late third, or mid to early third, you could get some nice appreciation on him by next year because if he winds up doing what has happened with several teams in the last couple of years where you get two, maybe three starts at the end of the season, build a little hype for Levis, especially if he has a good game or two against teams that have quit. You could really rank in some love from him. So you could turn maybe a 3-2 pick on him into a first round pick next year. Probably not, or probably a first round pick in 25 if somebody really wants, Levis, if he would turn around and be that type of performance. So I see Levis as a boomer bust. He could wind up being, Josh Allen type, or he could wind up being, God, just nothing. I was trying to remember the kid who got drafted by the Tennessee Titans about 10 years ago, and now I can't remember his name. That's when like 5 quarterbacks came out and they all were garbage. I believe it was Washington. Well, I can't remember his name. I always want to say Palmer, but it wasn't. At any rate, Will Levis, boomer bust, big time. So that's what I see there. The next guy is, Hooker. Hooker has a lot of passing ability, janky offense that he came out of, but he got the ball to guys. He's old. He's coming off knee injuries. He's probably not going to play. So I see him as a lifetime, backup type quarterback. So I really wouldn't waste a whole lot of time on him, especially his first contract when you start thinking about it, right? If he's 4 years in Detroit and he backs up Goff all 4 years, well, what is he by then? He's going to be a 29-year-old quarterback looking to start after that. Is he going to get a big payday? Are you going to have a lot of things? So you're going to have to. He's not going to be worth anything in fantasy unless Goff leaves or gets injured. So you might as well not even draft him, or if you're going to take him and if you got Jared Goff, maybe you pick him in the late 4th or 5th round and you just have him on your roster just in case Goff goes down. So you make sure that you have Detroit's quarterback. So that's about the only real value that he has there, right? So let's get into these other guys. So there's a couple guys left down here at the bottom. You got Jake Haener, Stetson Bennett, Dorian Michael Robinson, Clay Toon, and Jaron Hall. All these guys are pretty much no-goes in my book, especially, currently. When you look at Jake Haener and Dorian Thompson-Robinson, those are two guys that at the end of the year I might stash on the backside of my roster because a lot like Hendon Hooker, it's going to depend on how they do and if they get an opportunity, to play at all. I mean, Dorian Thompson-Robinson, he's going to be behind Deshaun Watson. They've got a millions of dollars to make sure that Watson plays, so he's probably not going to get much of a shot, right? Jake Haener in New Orleans. I mean, they just signed Carr. I mean, he's got 2 years there, so you're 2 years out on Haener if he actually does turn into anything. Stetson Bennett, 25, 26-year-old rookie. Yeah, he won a couple of titles because the defense won them titles. I don't see him being a real quarterback. He's going to be lucky to hang on as a backup quarterback. So when you start taking a look at that, Clay Toon, behind Kyler Murray, he signed a big deal. I mean, they'd have to move Murray for him to get an opportunity again. And Jaron Hall, I mean, he's not going to be the quarterback in Minnesota. So, I mean, I don't care what anybody thinks. So all those guys, if you take them in the 410, 5th, 6th, 7th round, if you have spots on your roster, if you can stash them, depends on your league. In my MFL leagues, I'm not touching them. If I'm at week 15, right, and they've played a game or two because they've gotten in backup and they've looked good, maybe, just maybe at that point, I stash them and put them on, because I put somebody on the IR and put them on my roster. But other than that, I mean, these guys are pretty much no-goes. So you got the top 4 guys are guys that are possibilities in my mind that you would even consider drafting. And, I kind of told you where to draft them. So once you get to 5 and later, it's really dicey unless you want them as the backup quarterback. So with all to do about that, that's the video here about the top 10 quarterbacks. These are the Fantasy Pros rankings, the ECR. Once again, here mid-May, May 15th of 2023 for the rookies. So these are the guys you're going to want to draft most likely, and that's where I would suggest you pick them. So we'll end this video here. Hopefully you're having a great day, and until next time, take care.